Hello, my name is Aaron, and welcome to another board game review on Board Games, Bricks, and Hobbies. Today, we're going to be collecting loot and dueling each other in Loot and Loaded. Alright, so we will start with a quick look at the components, and then I'll show you how the game plays, and then after that I'll jump into my final thoughts. If there's just a certain part of that that you are interested in watching, go ahead and use the timestamps to jump to that point. So as far as components are concerned, I was actually really impressed with the components of this game. I was not familiar with this company before, so this is the first game from them. It's Gatwick Games. And yeah, normally I don't like boxes that have holes in them, but they at least have the decency to cover them up, so it's not just a gaping hole in the box. So the first thing you'll notice, obviously, are these two Nerf blasters. They're kind of silly and probably the main draw, no pun intended, of the game for most people. They just shoot a suction dart, and these are used in the duel phase of the game, which we will get to in the gameplay. They're decent quality, and the cardboard is actually really good quality. It's pretty thick cardboard counters and tokens. You have these as well. These represent locations. These represent the locations that you select. And then we have various cards. The cards are linen finish. They are a bit thin, but serviceable. And so those are the components. And now let's go ahead and set the game up, and I'll show you how to play. All right, so right here we've got it set up for a 4-player game. I have it set to 1 round into the game, so this will be the second round. As you can see, everyone has 1 card in their hand already. And essentially you're trying to collect sets to have the most points at the end of the game, which is at the end of 10 rounds, which is you keep track of on here. This also shows you the gun hierarchy for when you duel. So a quick sample of a turn. So over here, Gizmo has some snake oil, and as you can see, snake oil is worth -2 if you only have 1 of them, but if you have a set, it's worth 7. So they want the snake oil, so they're going to secretly choose this location right there. And everyone will do that at the start of a round. So over here, Deadeye just has this. So they might decide that they want the Queen's Jewels, so they'll pick 4. And then over here, Father John has hogwash, so he wants more hogwash, so he will pick 3. And then over here, as you can see, Goat Lord has a white flag. That means that they lost a duel. So this is kind of what you get as compensation when you lose. It's just so that you don't fall behind. It's kind of a catch-up mechanism. All right. And so Goat Lord will, let's say, will also pick number 1. So once everyone has selected their location, you will flip these over. And anyone who has selected just 1 location will take that item. So he gets that. And then over here, they get this. And that leaves these two with location 1. Since they both selected the same one, it goes to a duel. If it were 3 players, then everyone would just choose again. Or rather, if 3 players were tied for the same place, everyone would just have to choose again amongst themselves. But if once it gets down to just 2, you will duel. So that means that each of these players would, these two, will select a weapon secretly from their hand. So you have the standard guns, which are here. And these just go based off of the hierarchy shown here, kind of a rock, paper, scissors mechanic. But you have these two. This one essentially beats all other guns, but you have to discard it once it's used. And this one immediately goes to a duel. So, what's a duel? Well, let's say that they picked guns. So, they'll pick this one. And they will also pick this one because we need an example. So, flip these over. And alas, they have both chosen the same one. And it actually, it might just go to I think it goes to a duel at that point. It'll also go to a duel if someone just plays the dual gun. So in that case, let's say they played this instead. That, no matter what the other gun is, it will go to a duel. And a duel entails both players taking one of these, and you're supposed to be equidistant from this bottle here. And then it's essentially the first person to hit the bottle from where they are standing or sitting wins the duel, and they gain that item. So that's that. Now, there are different cards. There are various different cards that score in different ways, and depending on the number of players, you will remove some of the cards. So you won't see all of the cards every time. It's got a variable setup in that sense, which is good. I like games that have options to vary essentially the starting deck. So I think that's a good idea. And you will essentially do that for 10 rounds. At the end of 10 rounds, the person with the most points is the winner. So let's go back up top and I'll give my thoughts. All right, so now that you've seen the components and how the game works, let's go ahead and jump into the review and my final thoughts. Overall, this is a good game. And I actually enjoyed it quite a bit more than I thought I would, because judging from the box with the silly foam blasters, and I just thought this was going to be another just cheap cash grab kind of game, like that throw burrito game or whatever that is, just silly party game like that. But it's actually a lot more involved than I thought. It's got set collection with the cards. They're worth different points. That reminded me quite a bit of Sushi Go in that matter. It's got simultaneous selection where you're choosing which location to go. That reminded me a lot of City of Horror. And it's also got the dual mechanic, which is kind of a prisoner's dilemma of sorts. And that reminded me a bit of Dead Last. So a combination of a lot of games that I also enjoyed. And honestly, I think that might be its biggest drawback, because the game might be a bit too good for its own sake. Now, allow me to explain. I think that a lot of people are going to see this box, they're going to see the foam blasters, like I said, and they're going to think this is just a silly party game that you can bring out and essentially just shoot your friends with some foam darts and have fun. Now, I do think it's fun, but I do think it is a bit more complex than people might anticipate, just judging by the cover. And so I worry that some people are going to buy this and expect just a silly, quick party game, and when they get a game that's actually very well designed, they might be a bit confused because it's not just Cards Against Humanity. But again, I'm not trying to sound negative here, because I did like the game, so this is not a negative review, but I just worry that some people are going to see this and maybe get the wrong idea, but those who do see it and know that it is a quality game might also be kind of thrown off by the silly theme. So it's kind of an interesting mix. But again, I did enjoy it. I do think that the dual mechanic is a little silly and kind of thrown in there. And so for being such a big part of the package, the fact that just didn't do a lot for me, the dual mechanic ultimately. But I do think there is a good portion of people that will probably enjoy that silliness thrown in there. So if that sounds good to you, if you like the thought of having a fairly complex, at least for a party game, probably more along the line of like Cash and Guns and things like that, then it's a lot closer to that than, say, just Apples to Apples or what have you. So it's a lot closer to Cash and Guns. So if you're looking for that, it's probably a great game. And if you see the Nerf blasters and think that would be fun, then this is probably has already sold you just on that alone. So for me, I use the Board Game Geek rankings definitions. So I would rank it a 7, which again is not bad. 7 essentially means that I would play it if someone brings it up. I just might not recommend it myself, but I would definitely be willing to play it if it's available and if someone brings it out, because it is fun and it is enjoyable. I did enjoy the theme overall. So those are my thoughts on Loot and Loaded. Let me know yours in the comments. If this review was helpful, go ahead and give it a like. It really does help the channel. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again in another video. My name is Aaron from Board Games, Bricks, and Hobbies. Take care.